Hi everyone, what's up? Joshua here from Alternative Brewing, and today we're going to be reviewing the VBM Domobar Super Digital Manual Coffee Machine. Now this is an espresso machine that is a coffee lover's dream, and it has all the mechanics to be brewing a delicious traditional espresso, as well as using state-of-the-art programmable features that offer temperature control within the dual boiler system, pressure profiling with a geared water pump, as well as auto on and off settings to manage the machine to be ready when you are. And speaking about being ready, if you haven't already hit that like button, then go ahead and smash it now, as it helps to know we're making content that you like to see, and we really appreciate it. So with that, let's jump in, brew a coffee, and check the specs out on the VBM Super Digital Manual Coffee Machine. So the Super Digital stands at a similar height and width as the compact VBM Junior machine does, at 42 centimeters high. Save another 24 centimeters above this though to access the 1.5 litre removable water tank. Could be considered a little small for a dual boiler, but you do also have the option to plumb this machine in using the included braided hose. And the machine is only 25 centimeters wide across, which is fantastic when you consider having to place a grinder next to this on the bench. Won't take up all that much space, but it is the depth to this machine where that space has been added, and it is at a reasonable depth on the bench at 47 centimeters. Keeping up top, you have a reasonably sized cup tray, accommodating 5 to 8 cups, and these are heated passively from the boilers below. So the VBM Super Digital is a dual boiler espresso machine with a massive 2 litre steam boiler and a 500ml brew boiler, both copper and insulated for optimal heating efficiency. And it's here I talk briefly regarding warm-up times, but this is sort of irrelevant when you consider the Super Digital has programmable turning on and off times, and you're even able to set 3 separate intervals within one day. So say your wake-up coffee, a coffee break in the morning, and then perhaps an after the lunch coffee. Me personally, I'm a 1 coffee a day drinker, but it is valuable to know that you can have this machine turning on and off 3 separate times in the day automatically, and there's also a standby mode where the machine will sit in a low temperature setting, ready at a moment's notice. So I'm going to quickly point out the rest of the machine's physical features before we get stuck into the programming, as there is a lot you can do with this machine. It is still plug and play like a regular espresso machine, but that's not why you buy this machine. More on that in a minute. Now the machine has ergonomic twist open handles for both your hot water tap and your steam wand, and the wand uses a reliable 4-hole steam tip with plenty of steam being provided from that large boiler. You have a VBM's renowned E61 Grouphead with that manual lever actuation of brewing, and working around a lot of espresso machines, you do get a feel for what's good and what's great, and without a doubt, the Grouphead on these VBM machines is one of the better ones that I've used. Now, in comparison with other brands, I would be nitpicking a little bit, but it's just the feel you get when you lift the lever, how smooth it is, and that group head is really solid, which goes a long way for steady brewing temperatures. As well as this, the back flushing with that 3-way solenoid valve is not a chore, and it's done really quickly and efficiently. Then you have a magnetized drip tray made from hard-wearing plastic. It's designed with a float so you can avoid overfilling it and empty it sooner. With a quick rinse out, it's clean. It's also dishwasher safe though if you're more inclined to clean it that way. Cosmetically, the machine also has removable magnetized side panels. With a few options available from VBM, these can be easily repainted and placed back on for a custom look to your machine. And to take a look at the accessories of the Domobar Super Digital, you get a single and a double spouted portafilter, along with corresponding 8 gram and 16 gram filter baskets. There's the usual plastic additions of a tamp, scoop and brush, so you will want to get yourself a steel tamp when you can, but you do also get a steel blind filter basket for cleaning the machine. So to take a look at the programming and brewing on this machine, once it's turned on, you're alerted to it warming up from the large, well-lit touchscreen display above the group head. Once it is finished warming up, from the default main menu, you have displayed your current brewing temperature, the last shot time that you brewed at, and your steam boiler pressure, with a lock screen button on the bottom left and a standby button on the bottom right. Through into the settings button from the top right, you have your brew settings on the left and your machine settings on the right. And the machine settings are standard things here, like setting the date and time of the machine, whether you want Celsius or Fahrenheit, as well as your machine auto on and off settings. Jumping straight into your brew settings, you can turn on and off your steam boiler, reset your brew settings altogether, change the temperature of your brew water in 1 degree increments, and you can also adjust the offset to your brew boiler. So the water at the group head maintains the temperature that you want it to be at without losing a temperature as it travels from the boiler to the group head. And this is generally a factory setting you can't change, but by adjusting the offset correctly, you will ensure the displayed temperature is the same as the temperature of the water that's leaving the group head. And a good reason for adjusting this is in the case of if you live in a cooler climate, and then adjusting for a hotter offset will ensure that the group head can maintain those steady temperatures within its environment. And this is generally around 10 to 12 degrees as a reasonable offset. Next, you have your count up, and this I haven't actually found to have any function on the manual Super Digital, and it's only really used with the Super Digital electronic version of this machine. Next, you have your boiler pressure, and this is for your steam production. Good to keep at around 1.3 to 1.4 bars of pressure for adequate and constant steam. After that, you have your pressure profiling, where you can enable your profiles on and off, and then by selecting and editing profiles, you have a total of 10 profiles you can select, which is an enormous range. Now, I don't understand exactly why you need 10 profiles when you can edit 1, 2, or 3 to exactly what you want. But you do this by programming 7 sections of an espresso shot. And you can select the pressure the pump works at from 0 bars of pressure all the way up to 14 bars of pressure, and then how long in seconds that pump will engage at that pressure for. So for reference, if you're not interested in pressure profiling and you just want a good 9 bars of espresso brewed, you could just turn these pressure profiles off altogether. But for the sake of learning how these profiles work and how to edit them, we select one, then select 9 bars as your desired pressure, and then time this first segment out to 50 seconds, and it doesn't matter what the rest are. This means the pump isn't going to adjust the pressure from 9 bars for at least 50 seconds, and then that's the shot anyway. It's important to note though that due to it being a manual lever espresso machine, you still have to start and stop those shots using the lever, and they're not going to stop automatically. So long as this lever is up to, water can and does sometimes continue to trickle out of the group head, even if you've programmed the pump to stop pumping. But overall, the pressure profiling on this machine is legit and a lot of fun to use. Now, I don't think I'll ever be using over 9 bars of pressure, but it is great that it is possible, as the old style lever machines began their brewing at around 12 to 13 bars, and then they gradually decreased over the course of a shot. So let's cue my top 3 pressure profiles to play on with the VBM Super Digital. First up, you have that lever shot, where we're going to start with a gentle pre-infusion of 2 bars of pressure for 5 seconds. Then we're going to ramp it straight up to 13 bars of pressure for 6 seconds. Then every 5 seconds after that, drop the pressure by 3 bars over the course of that 30-second shot. So let's see how this went. So next we're going to go for a low pressure, long pre-infusion of 2 bars of pressure for 10 seconds. Then we're going to ramp up to 9 bars for 10 seconds, then ramp back down again for a post-infusion of 3 bars for 10 seconds. Let's see how this one turns out. And lastly, my personal favorite profile, we're going to pre-infuse for 6 seconds at 2 bars of pressure, then stop the pump at 0 bars for 8 seconds, so we're stalling it here, before ramping back up again for 8 bars for 10 seconds, and then ramping back down again for 4 bars for 6 seconds to finish the shot. So let's see how this went. Now, a quick word on these or any other espresso pressure profiles. They're all fun to play with, but it is a huge rabbit hole to fall into. And there isn't one best profile for brewing espresso. 9 bars on and then off is the one that we're used to, and it's good to keep there for some perspective on what's normal, but having multiple profiles to jump between, I guess, is a big plus, especially when comparing the same coffees brewed at different pressure profiles. However, you might still have to adjust the grind settings to each of these profiles in order to manage the final volume and the weight of your espresso brewed out, and then you have to consider they're no longer really comparable side by side. But pressure profiling does contribute in a big way to the flavor experience of the coffee. And whether it's highlighting the acidity of the espresso, maximizing the sweetness or the viscosity of the coffee, or even aiming for a longer lasting finish of good flavor, it might take a little bit of effort and consideration when tasting the coffee to be satisfied with knowing you've got a good thing going. So as a dual boiler espresso machine, steaming milk can happen at any time, even during brewing, and its steam boiler capacity of 2 litres makes it solid as a rock for constant steam production. And there's no effort here getting great milk on the VBM Super Digital with that 4-hole steam tip, and making cafe quality style coffee from this machine is kind of like its default setting. Now, you may have noticed on the display screen during the espresso brewing process, there was a graph tracking brew time and pressure achieved, and these bars occasionally changed colors, starting out from yellow, then going to green, and then finally changing to red. So VBM installed this as a handy visual aid for espresso extraction. And if I'm correct, it works off an algorithm of a few inputs, mainly the flow rate of the espresso being brewed out, the overall brew time, and maybe even the brew temperature, and quite possibly the pressure or perhaps even the volume of the espresso being brewed out. And whilst as a visual aid, this is a great little tool to develop and use, I do find it is a little inconsistent, and I wouldn't ever base my brewing espresso off of this entirely, but rather my own known inputs of the coffee weighed in to the coffee weighed out over the course of the brew time, which in large is managed by my own grind setting, and in part the brewing pressure and the water temperature, which I also have control over. But above all of this, you do have to ask yourself, does the coffee taste nice? And when it comes to actually getting incredible espresso from the VBM Super Digital with a little bit of know-how, or just by using the default settings, there's no question about it, the coffee is flavorful and enjoyable. And that's the VBM Domobar Super Digital Manual Espresso Machine for you. Packed full of features, some you set and forget, and then others you can play and explore coffee with endlessly. Any which way you look at it, this is a powerful machine with great options for the home barista and the coffee lover at large. VBM are a highly reputable Italian-made espresso machine, and you get that experience when you brew on a VBM Super Digital. So if you have any questions on this machine, add them in the comments section down below and we'll get straight back to you. Don't forget to hit that little bell icon and the subscribe button, and then that way you stay notified when we bring out new videos just like this every week. Thanks for watching to the end of this video, and we'll see you next time.